Perfect. Okay. I'm going to give like 2 more minutes and then we can dive in just so that we can get all the things. I have lots of updates, lots of really cool, fun updates for our lessons. They keep getting better and better. So I'm just gonna give you all a little spiel and make sure that we're all on the same page when we start next Monday, which I'm very excited about. And just a quick reminder, I know those of you here and also the ones watching the recording, Monday the 16th, we don't have class because it's Martin Luther King. So we'll have class next Monday, then we'll take a break and then we'll come back. Future note, don't choose Mondays for ESL. Okay. So, Morgan, can you hear me okay? Just to make sure you're good. You can give me a thumbs up if you can't unmute. Make sure. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start. And like I mentioned, I wasn't expecting everyone just so that we can get the recording and everyone can watch this. But I'm gonna go ahead. You have a question, Robin?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Everyone see my presentation okay? Perfect, okay, I'm gonna make it big. Okay, so like I mentioned, what I'm gonna be focusing on in this training is on Words Their Way, which is a new curriculum that we're adding into our ESL lesson plans. But also we have a new pronunciation research that I was able to purchase before we went on break. And I've been able to start implementing it, which is a lot of fun because it gives us a lot of pronunciation activities focused on that it goes sequentially. So we start with syllables and sounds and we dive forward, and you'll notice it as you continue, and I'll speak more about that in a second. So the first thing I wanted to bring up is the why. Why are we doing word study? Why is Words Their Way going to be used for ESL? So Words Their Way is a way for our students to know the ways in which their written language represents the language they speak. So it is basically the key to literacy. It's the first thing for them to understand once they're learning how to say properly a certain word or how to connect the word with a reading or with a vocabulary that they're learning. It is also a way at how to look at and analyze the words to deepen their understanding of how the spelling works and how the sound is represented as well as its meaning. It is also a way for students to become faster and more accurate in the recognition of the words in order for them to focus their attention on making that meaning. It also helps connect the reading with the writing because they see the word being written, they see the phonetics, and they're trying to sort it, which I'm going to show you a little in a few minutes. It is also a way to help them make sense of the world through categorizing the words according to what they think the word sounds, which is a great way for them to take something visually and apply it. It is also a very hands-on opportunity for them to manipulate words and the features of the words, which helps them connect it in their brain visually and helps them retain that word, that pronunciation better than if we just show the word and maybe ask them to write it, but without diving into the words, to the actual sort. And the other great thing is that it's an individualized time. It is a time for them to learn words and the level they are at and be able to help them expand and continue to grow within our small groups. So quickly, I just wanted to provide a how did we get here? How did I get all these levels from all these students and suddenly we're going to notice that we have different levels in our groups. So how do we get there? As you'll remember, over the fall, we all did an assessment quiz. We gave our students a list of words that we said out loud. We had them write and we did not correct it. We just put them back in the box and we gave them to me. And this right here, the image on the left, is an example of Karen, which is a level 1 student, where she wrote her quiz, she wrote her letters, and you can see in red my corrections on how, like, which one was wrong, which one was sort of right, etc. And from that quiz, I used the spelling inventory guide from Words Their Way, which is this paper right here on the right. And this is just for you to know, there's really nothing that you need in terms of these documents, but it provides you a visual on how did I get to the level that they're at. The feature guide lets you circle the words that are correct. And when the student is missing 4 or more of that you don't see circled, like for example, this one, these 2 over here, that's where I started counting each row and you see the quantification on the bottom of where I'm writing, for example, 7 to 9, 6 to 9. And when they're getting to a certain number that is 2 or lower, then I know that that's the row that you want to highlight. That's the row that you want to work on when they're doing their first sort. And I did this for each student with each quiz. And that's how I was able to get where each student is at within Words Their Way. So just so you know, if someone asks, how did Lena figure out? Oh, Lena figured it out. She did. She made sure that everyone was at the level that they needed to do. Don't let these slides scare you. There are a lot of text. It was mostly also for me for not to forget the important parts. Let me turn off my heater because I kind of blasted it and now I'm in a tutor room and it's really hot. Okay, so the important thing is how Words Their Way is written within your lessons is very basic. I don't go into much detail in your lesson plan. I am assuming that everyone is going to be watching this recording and watching how to sort. And I will be also providing more resources that I will link and show you on this recording in the email in case you want to, with the recording, in case you want to do some research on your own, read about it on your own, or rewatch the videos that I'm going to show you. I'm going to be sending all of that in the email so that way you have more follow-up than this recording, and you can continue to learn or feel more comfortable doing Words Their Way. The first important thing is that students are receiving their sort in a one-pager. During their first day of class, so on Monday the 8th, next Monday, they will need to cut out their sorts. So you will need to provide, I don't think it's going to take more than 4 minutes for everyone to cut out their sorts and put them in the envelope that comes with their name. It is really important that once they finish their sort, we put everything back in that envelope and you tape it. The reason I'm asking everyone to tape it is because there are many little words. You're going to notice that they're going to come out many little words. And we have 4 students in one box. So I just want to avoid one of those words of a sort suddenly leaving one student and going to another one and getting mixed up. So that's why it's really important that once everyone is done, everyone puts their sort back into their envelope, it's closed, and that envelope goes back into the box. There is no taking this home. Words Their Way is only done at TLC during ESL time. If the student wants to do this on their own, they can communicate with me and I can provide a separate sort for them to do it at home. There is going to be just one sort for the 4 weeks of our lesson. Okay, so you will notice that we will do different activities with that same sort that we start on Monday. The reason we're doing that is because Mr. Bear, which is the creator of Words Their Way, funny name, he says that we should do the sort between 4 and 7 times. I think 7 times is a little excessive, especially since we are doing 1-month lessons where I create the entire month. So what I'm going to do is that each month we're going to change the sort, but then you have 4 opportunities to use that sort in different ways. And I will show you how we're going to do them. There will always be the answers to your sort in a key section on the sheet that I will show you the images in a few minutes of what you get in your box. And there's always going to be the answer on how the sort happens or how it should be. That is a great thing for you to keep. That sheet is not for students to see. It's for you to keep and you to know, okay, what is the proper thing if you suddenly don't realize, you suddenly are like, oh my gosh, I don't know where this goes. It is also important to note that some sorts might seem really easy and some sorts at the beginning on Monday. And know that they will get harder as this continues. And remember that we started where the student illustrated need. So even if it might feel a little easy, there is a purpose to that sort. Now, if the sort seems too hard, that's where I want to know. So if you see that the student is really frozen, does not know which word to put, really is having a hard time pronunciating some words, especially with level 1, that's where I see the biggest red flag, please note it on the attendance sheet and let me know this person really struggled with the sort, etc. And then I can retest that student and make sure that I have them in the correct level. On average, each ESL tutor will have 2 different sorts per group. I'm going to show you my spreadsheet with all the levels so you see like which ones do you have. I'm also going to share this presentation with you so you have the links that I have right now and then I'm going to show you. So that way you can see, oh, okay, I have a group focusing on diphthongs. I have a group focusing on the middle sound of words. I have a group focusing on the beginning sounds of words. And that way you can have an idea of where your students are at if you want to look at it before the class. This is optional, completely optional, but I think it provides you a good idea of what Monday is going to look like, especially during those first 15 minutes. And again, I will show that in a second. The only one of you who has more than 2 is Robin. Robin has 3 different sorts for her group. And that was because you have such a range. But the good thing is that you are a seasoned Words Their Way volunteer. So you know how this works. We use Words Their Way also in tutoring. So this is a curriculum that we use in many different programs of TLC. To be able to do this, my recommendation, especially juggling 2 sorts per group, is that you can look at the spreadsheet that I'm going to show you. Like I mentioned, so you have an idea of which students are the same, which students are different. You will also see that on the sorts they receive. You can have students sit alternating so that they can't copy each other, so that they're not sitting next to the student who has the same exact sort as they do and they just look to the side and copy the same thing. We want to avoid that. We want to have students really think about sound out, and you see them sounding out the word and trying to sort the word according to what they think the word sounds or where they think it goes. While the student is cutting, you can quickly review the goal sheet for each different sort, which is the sheet that I'm going to show you that is in the box together with the sort and the envelope. And that way you can try to understand what is the goal of the sort. Are we trying to put consonant, vowel, consonant? Are we trying to figure out the middle sound? Are we trying to figure out the beginning sound? And that goal is going to be highlighted by me. So it's going to be an easy find on that sheet, as well as a sheet that you can keep during the entire time. Because that sheet is kind of like your guide. It tells you what questions you can ask. It's bolded and the questions are bolded as well as highlighted. You have the key, you have the answer key. So you have many things on this one sheet, and it's a great thing if you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to ask or what to say. That sheet gives you everything you need. So it's a really easy way of just plugging it in and just seeing, okay, this is what Lena wants me to ask or things like that. And I'm gonna give you suggestions of what questions to ask and all that in this training. This is the spreadsheet with levels. I'm going to show you that right now. And this shows you in groups. So you have Veronica's group right here, and you have the sorts that we're doing. Mary's is here, and you have the 2 different sorts. Lori, same thing. This is the 2 different sorts, the blue and the pink. Georgie, this is your sort. You have 2, so you have all the pink and the blue. And you can say, okay, one is on final consonants, and one is on short vowels. Those are the two things that you will be focusing on. Morgan, you have the middle common long vowels. You have several, 4 students in that area. And then you have Shayla with the diphthongs, are influenced, and the ambiguous vowels. She's the most advanced, obviously, as expected. Robin, you have the middle common long vowels. You have the 2 on short vowels, and you have 1, Janet, also with Shayla, the diphthongs, the are influenced, and the ambiguous vowels. So you have 1 slightly more advanced, and then 2 on 1, and then the other one, Mirna on her own. So the only 2 that could copy really are Veronica and Edith. And then with Sarah, there's 2 groups. There's the final consonants and the short vowels. So again, this is going to be linked in your presentation. You can review it on your own, but this is just an idea of who is on where, just so that you have that when you start on Monday. Let me go back to our presentation right here, make this big, or I can't see. Okay. Any questions with this so far? No, okay, perfect. Okay. Nope. Yep. Okay. So there's different types of sorts. Remember that day 1 is going to be one kind of sort. Day 2 is going to be one kind of sort. Day 3 is going to be one kind of sort. And day 4 is going to be another kind of sort, using the same sort, but with different activities. The reason, again, we're doing that is to repeatedly review those words 4 different times. And we're going to be using different types. You're going to see it in your lesson, and they're going to be explained in your lesson using the same sort. So for example, the first one we're going to do is the closed sort. Is a sort where the student has headers or that guided words that, for example, if this says cat, then I'm going to look at words that rhyme with cat, cat being my header. So maybe hat can go there, mat can go there. Words that follow that same sound if I'm using, for example, the ending sound. Another sort would be the guess the teacher's category. So it's very much an open sort where you don't have a header and you let the student figure out the header for themselves. That's what an open sort means. You have, again, open sort. You have a blind sort, which is good for those sorts in which sounds are important, and you're letting them categorize them and sort them according to the sound without letting them know it's the at sound we're looking for. They might be doing cat, mat, hat without knowing that cat is the header, just based on the sound of the word and whether they think it sounds similarly. A blind writing sort is the same thing, but writing instead of just sounding out the words and categorizing. Speed is actually a fun one, is where you put the time and let's try to do this in 2 minutes. Let's try to do this in 1 minute. Let's try to do this in 30 seconds. So it gets them thinking about it in quicker ways. Word hunts is when we start telling them, okay, what rhymes with cat? And letting them come up with words that rhyme with those. And they would have to hunt them and kind of come up with the words. Draw and label vocabulary. You can, for example, say, okay, we have cat. What image comes up with cat? Okay, and they can draw the cat. Okay, how do you spell the word? How can we associate the word with cat better? What things come to mind when you say the word cat? There's also games that Words Their Way on their website has. I haven't really used that, and I'm not sure how much we're going to use that, but that is another option. And then dictated or silly sentences and stories that come up through that sort. So for example, if you have 5 different words on the cat, can we make a silly story using every single one of those words? And there's a fun way for them, again, to use those words in different ways, but again, hitting the same words over and over again. So those are different sorts. And then how do you sort? How does this happen? I'm going to be showing you 2 different quick videos, but before we do that, I just wanted to jump into these quick same wordings that we will have in our lesson. We review the words. That's the first part that we do with a sort. What we want to think about is, can he or she read the words? Does he or she know what the words mean? Do we need to explain the meanings first? Like, that is the first thing that we want to do. And because you will have 2 different sorts, you want to do two, right? You want to explain one sort for one of the students and you want to explain the other sort for the other students. And they can, the ones that have different can listen and learn. I don't think this is a waste of time at all. I think they can listen to what other students are doing and get curious, and also think about, oh, we're going to eventually get there, because everyone is going to get to every single level. And then the following thing, after you review the words and you review the vocabulary, is establishing the categories, establishing the headers, if there are headers. Like, for example, how might we sort these words? What do you notice about these words if there's no header? If there is a header, like for example, if you have cat, then you know, okay, the category is cat. We need to find words that are similar to cat. If we don't have cat, like when we have the open sorts, then how can we sort these words? What do you notice about these words? What sounds similar? And letting the student run with that without correcting them, just letting them see what they come up with. Model putting several words into each category and explain why you put those words there. Oops, sorry. And explaining why you are sorting it that way. That is a great way, especially for students who freeze up and have no idea how to do this. Modeling is a great first step, especially on day one, when they've never done sorts before and they're going to be brand new. That's a great thing for you to do, and be able to put them in the category, since you're going to have headers, and explain why. Why are you putting Matt against hat? Okay, well, let's sound it out. What do you notice sounds familiar? And letting the student come up with an idea and saying, correct, that is exactly why I did that. But letting the student kind of come up with, why do you think I did that? Then the next thing would be turn the task over to the student if you're modeling, and then let them finish the sort. I would do one or two as a model, and then let them do the rest. Once they're done sorting, check their work, reflect on their work, ask them open-ended questions to get them thinking about, why did they choose that word there? What? Because there are many reasons that the why could be, right? That aren't necessarily right or wrong, especially when you speak two languages. So those are things that we can reflect about, and we can ask and discuss, and just see what comes up, what conversations come up, what questions come up. And then once you're done reflecting and they're done, they're going to write those words down on their notebook. I did not add this here, but it is in your lesson plan, so that they can get in the habit of writing the words, of revisiting the words, of seeing them again. Once they're done writing, then all those words go back in their envelope. You seal the envelope and they go back in the box until the following week. So these are my quick videos. The first one I'm going to show you is a closed sort. Remember, a closed sort is where you have the headers and you're following the headers. It's much more teacher directed, teacher guided, since you have the headers and they have to do it in a very specific way. Let me show you. It's a very quick video. I believe it's 3 minutes long. Oop, sorry. Weird ads. Does everyone hear okay? The video?
No.
No? Okay. Let me skip. Okay. Let me make sure. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to make sure I'm sharing with sound. Yep, there we go. Okay. I'm going to do this one more. I'm going to put this full screen. Here we go.
Okay, welcome to a closed sort.
Everyone here?
We're going to show you how you can help your child for homework, working on their spelling words. A closed sort, your child's going to come home with a page that looks similar to this, that has some headers at the top and the words that fit in each of the categories. In a closed sort, you're going to keep the headers with those. This is an example one with short vowels. It could be, your child could have a sort that might look something like that, where it has pictures instead of words, and they would have to say the picture name and sort it. Or it could be something like this, where it has as the headers vowel, vowel, consonant, etc., with the header words as well, and they would need to cut those apart and sort those. The one we're going to do today is short vowels. So your child would bring this home. They're going to sort for the short vowel A, short I, and short U. So the first thing they're going to do is cut those apart. and keep them in a container safe because you're going to use these each night during the week. So I have the headers separate. So first thing we're going to do is just make sure we understand what the headers are. So this one here is working with a short
U,
which says
as
in,
sun,
the short
a,
which says as in,
can,
the short
I,
which says
I,
as in.
pin.
Good. So now she's got all of her words cut apart. So she's going to just read a word and she's going to find the category that it fits under with a spelling pattern.
Grin, sun, grin, can, grin, pin. Win, sun, win, can, win, pin. Plan, sun, plan, can. Van, sun, van, can. Ran, sun, ran, can. Run, sun. Fan, sun, fan, can. Pan, sun, pan, can. Fin, sun, fin, can, fin, pin. Fin, sun, fin, can, fin, pin. Chin, sun, chin, can, chin, pin. Tan, sun, tan, can. Skin, sun, skin, can, skin, pin. Bun, sun. Van, sun, van, can. Fun, sun.
Good. Once they're all sorted, she's going to go through then and read the header and read each of the words just to make sure that she has them sorted correctly.
Sun, run, sun, bun, sun, fun.
Good.
Can, plan, can, van, can, ran, can, fan, can, pan, can, tan, can, van.
Good.
Pin, grin, pin, win, pin, fin, pin, thin, pin, chin, pin, skin.
Excellent. So that's how you'll help your child to do a closed sort.
Perfect.
Are you going to let the greedy heating company?
Sorry, ads. Okay, any questions on a closed sort? It's very self-explanatory, and it also provides you a great way, again, to vocabulary, like we've mentioned. Now I'm gonna do a quick open sort. You're gonna see me fast forward just because this one's a little longer, and while the student is sorting, you kind of have that same idea of saying the word and trying to figure out where it fits. So I'm going to show you this one and just note that I will be skimming.
Okay, this is
Everyone here okay?
a sort that's an open sort.
Sorry, I made it big.
So there's no headings, Henry. Can you try to read the word and try to put them into different categories, what you think goes together?
So remember, this is open sort, no categories. The student creates the category.
Okay. You can read through a bunch before you start to put them in the category, okay?
Fast. Nest. Lost. Must. Gift. Dust. I noticed something.
What'd you notice?
That right here on must, dust matches
Okay.
the ust part right there, not the D. If you take away the D like that, the ust part matches.
Great, keep going.
Okay. This one start on milk and gift. Milk and gift. Their second letter both is I.
Okay.
And then the same thing with this one again. And then the same thing with this one too. So I noticed something.
Remember to say the word.
Best ask. Mask.
Notice how she reminds them to say the word.
Left.
That's very important. And she's not correcting the student. She's letting the student do it as they come out.
Past.
So he continues sorting as he thinks.
Soft.
I'm gonna
The
fast
desk, best,
forward.
and I noticed something.
What did you notice?
That all of them have 4 letters in them except ask.
That's true. You have one more. Or no, 2 more.
Self. Fist.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to give you a marker. Do you think that up here above these categories you could make up your own heading?
Heading.
Yeah, like you said these all have what?
A.
Okay, so write A.
Okay.
Keep going. What's the next column?
I. O. E. U.
Yeah, I'm going to teach you a symbol.
feel
You want to do a
like I
lowercase? Yeah, I think you should change that. Because it looks like the word I instead of I. Okay. Let me teach you a symbol. Ready? This is called a short vowel. When they make the sound A, I, Ah, Eh, and
Why is
made
there
your own
U's
kind of-
on top?
They look kind of like U's, but that's
Yeah.
a short vowel symbol. It means that they say A, I, Ah, Eh, Okay? Instead of their name like A and I. Great job. You came up with your own headings. And that's with the open sort or guess the category sort. And he could have come up with other ideas, and that would have been fine too. And then you can come up with different ways for this one. So for example, they might put like just the rhyming words together, and that would have been fine. And then you could try, let's try it this way. Okay. Okay, this is
Perfect. So that is an open sort. Again, you see that the student is creating their own headers according to what they think goes or is what connects all the words. The last resource I'm going to show you is just a Google Doc with text. This is TLC's cheat sheet on Words Their Way. I'm going to be sending this via email when I send the recording so you can look at it. The questions link for some reason doesn't work. So this is the only one that I would say don't hit. But all the other ones, it talks about, again, the types of sorts. It gives you more information and suggestions on things to be on the lookout for. This is just a suggestion if you want to dive in and get more information. The links are the videos that I showed you. So those are the same ones. You have blind sort, blind written sort, speed sort, word hunt, draw and label vocabulary, games, and the dictated silly sentence, the same ones that I showed you on the previous slide. And they just give you a little more information than what I gave you. Again, completely optional, but other ways for you to dive in if you would like to. Okay, so those are our Words Their Way resources. What are things that you can ask the student while the student is sorting? These are some great suggestions on things that you can say. Remember that the most important thing is to use questions that are open-ended. The more open-ended questions, the better you will allow the student to do the thinking, which is what we want. Questions like, what do you notice about all these words? Things about why did you put that there? And let them tell you why they put that word there. I see one word in this column that doesn't fit. Can you find it? And let them do the correction rather than instead of showing them the word and skipping that part. Another suggestion, why did you sort this way? Or what did you notice about the words in each column? How are these words alike? How are they different? And why is this word an oddball? Some sorts, and they explain it on the sheet, have what Words Their Way calls an oddball. Some examples are like love is an oddball that doesn't really fit with any other words. There's other words like that, and the sheet will always tell you, as well as your answer key will always tell you if there's an oddball. But these are questions that you can have. And again, you don't have to memorize these. It's just remember to have open-ended questions. It's the most important thing. And there's also more questions on that sheet in bold, like I mentioned earlier. Some general tips. Remind students that this activity happens first. We're doing it for 2 reasons. Is a motivation for them to arrive on time, and a motivation that this is an individualized activity according to their level. So it is very powerful. And if they arrive 10 minutes late or more, they will miss this time. The only time they can make it is if they're 5 minutes late, and you can still do the sort and not expand the time to more than 15 minutes because of one student. That's what I want to avoid. I want to avoid that if a student shows up late and you don't have enough time to do the sort and explain it, they miss the time. And that is actually a good thing, because then the next class, they won't be late. If a student is missing, we have only 2 students who are missing that did not do the quiz. That is Diego and Margarita. If you have one of those students, please make sure to complete the quiz that will be in your box at the next class or the next time that they're present at class. Avoid rules. Try to get students to make generalizations without defining them as rules. Like, for example, if you see a different sort or you see a pronunciation of a word, you don't have to like say, oh, you say it this way because of this rule. Is try to help them make that generalization so that they feel like they're being successful. One thing we want to avoid is for them to feel like, oh my God, I'm not doing this, I can't do this. And then the next time they try, they will have that block in their mind and that mental block. So we want to encourage them as much as possible. Don't hide the oddballs. The oddballs are really powerful, especially when they can see the difference between, for example, love and cat. Why are those different? Why don't they sound alike? And let the student come up with a why is a great opportunity for them to dig deeper. Try to make as many connections as possible with their reading and their writing, with the words that they might be using in their sort or the same sounds pattern that they're using in their sort. Try to connect it with all the other activities that we're doing that day, just so that we can continue to hit it as much as possible, especially if you find it within their reading or within, we've mentioned, their writing. You can use analogies. For example, you know how to spell seed, and that can help you spell seeds. Or another example, use what you know about how to spell care to spell dare. So that way they can make those connections or through those analogies. Allow invented spelling, unless it is a pattern you have practiced before. In that case, hold the student accountable for transferring it to their writing. And the last one is take students' oracy into consideration, especially understanding that our students are multi-language learners. If they pronounce sit as seat, just keep them into consideration. It's not something for you to have to immediately correct them, but just to keep that in mind that it might affect them when they write it, but there might not be a need to correct them if they're just pronouncing it. So that's all of Words Their Way. Before I dive into pronunciation, which is really quick, are there any questions with Words Their Way? Everyone sound good? Perfect. Okay, so pronunciation, thank you, Morgan. Pronunciation is a quick resource that I found, and it's just one book. So there's no digital version of this resource. That's why you're going to see what I'm going to explain in a second. But just know that there's always hard copies, and it's always going to be in your box. And I'm always going to provide a link. So this is a new resource that we have come up that will be linked in your lesson plan each week. You can review beforehand because it will be linked. The same sheet that you see that is linked will be in your box. And I will refer to it many times within the lesson plan. You will see in the lesson plan say things like, see the key section in your sheet, see the rules section in your sheet, see this in your sheet. And that way you can refer to it, and I will also highlight it in that sheet. We are starting from A, and we will continue for all 3 levels between now and the end of the school year using this resource. So you will see things like an activity, and then you'll see a B, an activity, and then you'll see a C, and you know that we're just going on a succession. Please review the sheet before class or before the day of your class if you can. Obviously, that is preferred, but if you can't, then do it the day of your class. Just so you have an idea of what you're going to be doing and you're just not jumping in completely blank. Each sheet says the average time that will be needed to complete that game of activity. Given that we only have 15 minutes for this section, please note that I might remove some parts of sections and will always note it in the lesson plan. I will always strive to choose 15-minute activities, but there are more than 15 minutes, so sometimes I'm out of options and I will have to choose a longer one, and I'll just cut it down to make sure that I'm setting you up for success. These usually always include an extra component, like a grid, a puzzle, a board game, something additional to the sheet of instructions. So please see the link so you can review what documents you will find beforehand. And I will show you, this is a level 2 lesson plan for January. And I will show you once my tabs come in. Sorry, internet has been so slow today. Come on, there we go. Okay, let's go to January. Okay, so you see right here, this is an example of the pronunciation. So the syllable soup is an activity that level 2 will do on Monday. And the goal is to review syllables and stress in words with 3 or 4 syllables. Now you'll see that says first tutor will complete the presentation section. So I'm referring to that section. And then you see that in this blue text right here, this is linked. So if you click on that, that gives you, voila, the sheet that you will see of syllable soup. And it shows you exactly, if I zoom in, there you go. It shows you, sorry, that's crazy. It shows you, okay, here is my preparation. Here is the presentation section that Lena said that I need to refer to. Okay, so what she says is I have to write a word with a syllable separated in random order on the board. For example, write tomorrow like this, more to row, and separate it out. Then you're going to ask the students to make the word out of these syllables to see if they can make out tomorrow. Then they're going to pronounce the word several times and ask students to identify the strongest or stressed syllable of that word. And then you're going to write the word in the following grid to show the conversations used in the soup. That is a circle around the first syllable and a square around the stressed syllable. So see how is a circle on the first and a square on the strong one. And then you have the grid. I didn't add the grid here, but you see it right here. This is the answer key. This is what every student should have. And the point of the game is each student is going to get a puzzle. Sorry, I'm like probably making you busy. There we go. A student is going to get a puzzle, and then you're going to explain that there's 14 words hidden in the grid. The words are horizontal or vertical, and the stress part of each word has been removed from the word and placed outside. And all the first syllables are within the grid in capital letters. So then the students have to figure out, okay, which stress syllable goes where, what word? And once they have the words discovered, they can be circled, and the ones outside the grid can be crossed out. And they can continue until they complete the entire grid, which the grid would look like, there we go, like this. This kind of like an example. Like here you have telephone. So telephone, phone can be, that's one. Conversation, and that's another word. And they're figuring out where is the stress syllable. So this is just one example. Each lesson has, each level has a different activity. Each different has a different thing. But the most important thing about these pronunciation resources is to know that they're always linked in your agenda. And that way you can look at the sheet beforehand. Like for example, the following week right here, you have stress moves, and is another activity with, again, the same instructions right here, and is one that they're going to have to do the stress in addition to a movement that you are going to come up with together in class as a group. And they can come up, like, for example, when the word is not strong, they can have the hand open, and when they have the word like where's the stress syllable, they can have the fist closed, and it's a movement they're doing with the sound. Like that is one activity that you'll be doing on the third week, but always will be linked and always will be available for you to review beforehand. Those are the two most important things. Just so that you know that you don't need to walk into this without knowing anything beforehand. And then with this, any questions with the pronunciation resource? It's pretty easy. Okay, so this is, I'm going to show you what is in your box. What should you expect for each of these? So for Words Their Way, you're going to find two things. You're going to find that sheet with everything that I mentioned, all the information, the highlighted sections. You can see here in the example, you can see here the key. That's what the student will need to come up with, and that's the answers on how to sort correctly. You'll also see that some of my, I highlighted in yellow, some bolded things. Like for example, name the pictures with me and listen for the rhyme, and have the teacher lead if that's something that the tutor wants to do. Then you can say, you can notice that here it says, then say blah, 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 blah. So it gives you suggestions on what to say for the sort, etc. As well as, here's another one, say, read these words with me and with your eyes and ears to find out how they're alike. So that's another prompt that are always provided on this sheet. So you have your sheet, you have your sort, and you have your envelope. Notice that they all have the student's name, so it's going to be easy to find. And you have the envelope that will go with the sort. Once you're done for the first day, I don't think you'll need this clip, but if you do and you want to keep everything organized in your box, please feel free to use it. And that way it's easier for you each week to find these sorts. You can put like all their way, Words Their Way sorts in one clip, and that way it's easy for you to find. Just a reminder, these cannot go home. The pronunciation one for the resources, like I mentioned, you will find the two things if there is an additional component. If not, if there's just a sheet, you will find just a sheet. Like for example, here is the grid for the activity that I was just showing you, the syllable soup. So this is the grid that the students will complete, and you'll notice that here are the strong syllables outside, and the first syllables are capitalized, and you have that grid that the students will complete. You'll have both of these sheets together, and you'll have them in your box. And just as a very quick update, we have done some changes for our reading section, just because I've been really hearing your comments, your suggestions, and things like that. So the first update is that students have now entered, everyone has now entered into a higher level of reading. So some groups have jumped 2 levels, some groups have jumped 3, some groups have jumped just 1, depending on comments, feedback, and what I've heard you tell me of how they're doing, etc. Writing is now moved away from following the book. So there's nothing additional for writing sections like we had in the past with that paper. It's all in the lesson plan. And unless you don't need to follow the book like we had it in the past where students have to rewrite following the same structure as the book. They don't have to do that. They can really just write whatever is similar to the book. Like if we're talking about the beach, then they can write about their time that they went to the beach, except for level 1 and for some level 2s. If you feel like they really need the structure from the book, then they can definitely use it as much as they can if they get stuck. However, note that we prefer students to try their own writing versus copying the book in the notebook because they're really not thinking about what they're writing about if they're just copying. So it is really useful for us to try to stay away from that and use the structure as best as we can. Like for example, Morgan, you will never have to use the book. You're level 3. Robin, I don't expect your group to need this. But for example, Sarah's group might need this. Lori's group might need this. I don't think Veronica's group might need this, but Georgie might. So it really depends on where your students are at. And then please continue to write if the reading is too easy, too hard, or just right on the attendance sheet. So that way I can continue to expand from what you mentioned. The vocabulary section, there will be no more flashcards or Post-its. It was kind of chaotic on the boxes. I felt like people were losing things. So the vocabulary will just found in a paper. This is specifically for level 2. Vocabulary will be found in a paper in your box, like the example below. Level 1 and level 3, because they're just one group, your vocabulary is written in your lesson plan like it always has. Level 2s, you have the sheet since you have 5 groups of level 2. And for example, this is what you will find in your box. You will find the level, your name with your level, the book, knowing if it's 1 or 2, and then the vocabulary that you will be discussing. And then the activity of the vocabulary will be in the lesson plan, like it always has. Again, ESL subs, I know winter, we have tons of dates coming up for holidays, but if you need any day covered that we're not on holiday and that we do have class, please send them to me. The earlier, the better. No fear in sending spring dates. I can start getting those ready. So if you have dates in March, in April, February, please go ahead and send them. And that way I can start getting subs and your classes covered. And that is it. Is there any questions, any stress, any fears on doing these things? All good.
Good. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. And I just hope this helps just to know what to expect, what to be better prepared. And again, I'm adding as much as I can on the lessons. Not only do I do the linking for pronunciation, I do that for everything. So if I have something, know that it's linked on your lesson plan and you can click it and see what I'm going to be giving you in the box already before you come to TLC.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Robin and Morgan. And I will see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.
You. That was great.
Thank
Yep.
you. And Happy
Good.
New Year.
You bet.
Bye.